Hello and welcome to another episode of All Politics is Local. I'm your host, John Tian. All Politics is Local is a production of the Greater Blackstone Valley Democrats. For more information about the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems, feel free to visit our website at www.gbvdems.org. We have another great show for you planned for you tonight. With me in the studio is Marty Green, candidate for state rep in the Worcester 9th District. Marty, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you too, and we're excited about your candidacy. Tell us about the Worcester 9th.
It's Northbridge, Grafton, Upton. It's a very interesting time for the district because George Peterson, who's been the incumbent for the last 20 years, he announced in February that he was retiring.
Okay.
So I was reading the newspaper as my wife was walking out the door to work that morning. I work from home. She said, I said, "Hey, George is retiring." She said, "You gonna run?" And she knew that we had talked about 20 years ago when George was, actually when the original long-term vacancy, Jack Driscoll, who God rest his soul, just passed away last week. He was a 20-year incumbent from Northbridge. George didn't win that time. Marcia Platt won, and then George beat Marcia. So it's been held by Republican for 40 of the last 42 years.
Wow.
I was, interesting enough, I was registered independent until I decided to run. So people said to me, "Why don't you run as an independent?" I said, "Because I know where my heart is. I'm a Democrat, and that's that's the party I'm running in." So pro-business Democrat. I'm a small business person. Had my own real estate company for the last 3 years. Prior to that, I've been in real estate since 2005, actually.
Okay.
From 1995 to 2005, I was the Economic Development Director and the Executive Director of the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So I've spent the last 20 years working with small business owners, big business owners, and the residents of the Blackstone Valley. I think I'm very confident. I know the challenges of the district that we've been faced over the last 20 plus years, and I see it as an opportunity for me to serve. I'm not interested in being a career politician. This is just an opportunity to go and serve and participate in the process and bring some of the pie back to the district that we haven't been getting in recent years.
Absolutely. So local aid then would be a priority for you, do you think?
Well, it absolutely is, but it's just not local aid. It's where are there projects in the district that have not been given an opportunity to receive some of that pie. I'm not interested in increasing the pie. We all pay enough taxes. This is an opportunity for us, Northbridge, Grafton, Upton, to receive some funding for projects that are going elsewhere.
Okay.
By electing a freshman Republican, that's not going to happen. Unfortunately, for the last few years, we haven't received any. The only funding that's come in is through projects like from Senator Moore. It's the two Senator Moores.
So you have Mike Moore and Dick Moore, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So they both. Mike represents Upton and Grafton, half of Northbridge, and Dick represents the other half of Northbridge. So
right.
I've been. I was raised in Northbridge. I went to Northbridge High School. I've got 7 brothers and sisters, 5 of them that still live in Northbridge. So
wow.
We feel like we have a real good understanding of what the needs are. So yeah, local aid is one of them. I mean, we're not getting enough. Our roads are another. When it comes to the Chapter 90 money, it's just not enough. So we need someone who's going to be outspoken, who's going to fight for the district. And
now, did I also see on your website that you served as selectman?
I was a select from 1992 to 1995.
Okay.
Funny story. Well, I was chairman, and I was advocating for a couple of. One, I was advocating for more school funding at the time, and I was advocating against the proposed racetrack in Northbridge. That was a really hot issue. Right at the end, right before the deadline to put papers in, a gentleman who's now one of my business partners put somebody in the race, and I was defeated. So it's a small world that 15 years later, that's when it ended up being. Ed Renard and I ended up working with Ed, and now he's one of my biggest supporters. It's important that what that shows me is that even though if you stand up for issues, don't be afraid to lose.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I'm not afraid to go up to Boston and to advocate for the issues and projects that are important to this district with a clear conscience, without any concern about whether it impacts whether I get reelected or not. I'm going to do what's in my heart and what I think is best for the district.
What's right for the district, absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
That's just absolutely the way to do things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot on your website. Let's talk a little bit about how people can get in touch with your campaign. I went to your website today, so it's martygreen.org.
It's martygreen.org. That brings right to me. My phone number is 508-320-7786.
Well, I've seen that all over the district, and big signs that say Marty Green Properties.
Yes.
508.
Yeah, that's this is the thing about running for this position, and hopefully holding the position, is that from the day I joined the chamber in 1995, I was working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because it was 11 towns. And so and then when you get into real estate, it's the same thing.
Sure.
You work all the time.
Sure.
So I welcome it. So that's when I say, people say, why are you giving out your phone number on TV? Well, it's on signs all over the Blackstone Valley, in
Sure.
Worcester, here in Milford, right up the street here.
Right, yeah, exactly. We're
So-
here in the Milford Cable Studios on South Main Street, and your sign is right up the street,
Right.
I mean, directly. So, yeah.
So it's really exciting. That's how they can get in touch with me. But I'm going door to door already. I've been getting a great response.
Mm-hmm.
Also been attending a lot of meet and greets. Local events, whether it be the Grafton Common, the band concert on a Wednesday night, or
Right.
or over the Upton fireworks. So I'm used to that because I was doing it with the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I saw on your website as well, you had a fundraiser recently at Kathy and
Oh
Al,
yeah,
was it,
that's my sister and brother-in-law.
Okay.
My brother-in-law was he's a retired FBI agent and a CPA, so Al is my treasurer, so he's keeping me.
He's keeping me honest.
He's keeping me out of trouble, So it's but it's really good. So, and I can, we have a question about something, Al makes sure we do it right.
Sure, yeah, it's a nice resource to have, right?
Yeah. So we've had 3 fundraisers already. Gone very well. This race is not going to be won based on money. It's going to be won based on who the residents and the voters of the district feel that they can identify with on a number of different issues. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's concerned, I feel that nobody has a better resume when it comes to advocating for public education, private education. Mm-hmm. Okay, nobody. And for example, in the last 15 years, I've been involved in the creation of 2 educational foundations. One at the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce, where we started. It was when we merged the National School to Career Grant with the chamber work that we were doing with grants. We created a foundation. We brought on full-time staff. To this day, there's still full-time staff. In 2007, when the Northbridge, all the high school sports and not curriculum, but the
extracurricular activities.
all the extracurricular activities were being wiped out. My wife and I and 7 other families co-signed a loan, $80,000 loan with Unibank to make sure that we could fund those all those programs. We then went out and raised it, and so we created a foundation again that's still active today.
Great.
I'm very proud of that. You know, on and off over the last 20 years with the chamber and recently in some planning efforts, I've been involved in the effort to bring Quincy Community College satellite campus to the Blackstone Valley. Senator Moore, both Senator Moores just were able to get some funding in the budget to help us get some seed money to get that started. It's not enough, but you know, that's been 20 years in the making. Just as recently as a year and a half ago, there was 800 students from the Blackstone Valley attending the main campus at Quinsigamond. If Southbridge can have a satellite campus, the Blackstone Valley can have a satellite campus, and that's a priority for me in terms of making sure we focus on lifelong learning for all our residents and creating training opportunities for our businesses.
Sure, absolutely. So, there's a lot of jobs that go unfilled because we don't have the people with exactly the right set of skills to pick up those jobs. And so, you know, it'd be really good to see Quinsigamond come out here with a satellite campus. Yes. That'd be awesome. I know that there's been some talk here in Milford. We've got Middle School East. It's a building downtown that may soon be vacated by our school system. And so there's some talk about you know, what should happen with Middle School East. Would we turn it into offices for the town? Should we try to lease it to a community college like Quinsigamond or something like that? So there's a lot of discussion going on that.
Well, the need is there for us to continue to focus on higher education. I'm you know, my wife and I, you know, I've got a son and a daughter. My daughter Sadie just graduated from Bridgewater State. She wants to be a teacher. My son's going to be a junior at Holy Cross. I understand. My wife and I understand what it costs for higher education. You know, we've been blessed that you know, we've been able to navigate it through, but it's an issue that many families in the district are facing, and it's intimidating and it's scary. You know, how are we going to make sure? Because the goal is we want our kids to do better than we did.
Sure, absolutely,
right? Yep. And so they can't do that without post-secondary opportunities, both public and private. So it's a priority for us moving forward.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about economic growth. Economic growth was another bullet point on your website that you know, basically you'd like to see the cost of doing business be lowered somehow for Massachusetts residents, or certainly for businesses in your district. Let's talk about that.
You know, like I said earlier, you know, for the last 20 years, every single day I've been working with business people. Not only working with business people, working with local, state, and federal officials on, you name it, small projects, big, you know, all the way from the Route 146 Mass Bike Connector to, you know, helping. A day doesn't go by that I don't help a small business person, you know, whether it be connecting them with a local resource or another business person, or negotiating a lease or some type of sale transaction for them. So when it comes to the cost of doing business, it's not just about new regulations. It's about what are we doing. So this is an example. A number of months ago, right after I announced, I received a call from a wonderful couple that I ended up actually, the long story is that I graduated from high school with their daughter. But they have a piece of land in Northbridge. And so we were talking about what the, you know, nice piece of commercial land on Route 122, what's the value of that property? And you know, they said to me, you know, what do you know, if you run and you get elected, you know, we're not big government people. I said, I'm not big government people either. I said, but let me give you an example. This piece of property that they have has some wetlands in it. Okay. Now, let's be practical about how we, you know, are focused on protecting our environment, but as well as balancing economic growth and creating you know, not only employment opportunities, but new growth opportunities where we get both. If we go too far in how we implement our stormwater management, we got to make sure that we're really being realistic about how expensive it is. And really, you know, the value of that property goes down if we make we put too many
restrictions
on and how it can be developed. And if we do that, we also bring down the business opportunity that is there for the new company or the new small business person that wants to go there. So as a pro-business Democrat, I can bring it, a real practical approach to that. My opponents, there's two Republicans running. Neither one of them have the experience that I do in terms of on a daily basis working with small business people and the residents of the Valley and dealing with these challenges. So I welcome it. I'm excited about it, and I'm going to fight for the residents and the business people of the district.
Well, John Fernandez was my last guest on a previous episode that we taped just a couple of days ago, and he talked a lot about things like wetlands and that, because we have here in Milford, we have the issue with that being the head of the Charles. Right. We have the issues around phosphorus, and the EPA wants to impose some regulations on our stormwater runoff and stuff like that. So it will take some forward thinking in order to get through those things.
Well, forward, but also practical.
Right.
There is. Let's be realistic about the real impact of what we're doing, and if it's, and I'm not sure we always are. There's ways of preserving our environment, but also being pro-business and creating new employment and tax growth for our communities and our state. The EPA is a perfect one. I mean, they just the potential for the town of Grafton could be a $45 million wastewater
stormwater,
to improvement to their treatment plant. And wait a minute, and what does that accomplish? Let's be practical. What will it accomplish? And will you guarantee that you won't change the rules
sure.
halfway through the
in midstream? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, midstream. Right.
Well, one of the things John talked about was just changing the formulation of fertilizers. Rather than going through all this cleanup effort, why not change the formulation of your fertilizers in the first place so they don't contain all that phosphorus?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, phosphorus is some it's got some nutritive value for being in a fertilizer, but if there are other formulations, then why don't we just look at that instead of looking at this huge bill for cleaning it up? I think one of the quotes that I heard, this was 5 or 6 years ago now when they first started talking about this, $135 million they wanted for, or it was going to cost in order to implement. That's like 1.5 times Milford's normal budget.
Well, but the other reality of it is, what is that taking out of not only the economy, right, but also what's it taking out of people's pockets,
right?
So they can buy their family food, so they can pay for their kids' college education.
Sure.
So they can have their night out.
All those bread and butter issues.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they can't do a night out, have a night out, then they're not going to help the local economy. They're not going to help the small little restaurant.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
And then it's also taking out away a commitment to other municipal projects, our roads, which are, we talked about it earlier, but the Chapter 90, we're just not making enough of a commitment to Chapter 90 in terms of our roads and bridges here. Not just in Northwest Grafton, but in the Blackstone Valley, but the entire state. We need to be committed to it.
Yeah. So one of the fun things that we've been doing lately on my show is showing the famous or infamous, as it were, tailgate of my 2000 Dodge Dakota pickup truck. So Brett, if you could bring up my most recent picture. I think Marty's brought me a bumper sticker here. There we go. That's the most recent picture of my bumper sticker. Vote yes on 3. That's an old one from a prior election year, so I'm going to have to see which one is question 3 this year. I think question 3 might be repeal the casino deal, which to me says, well, okay, I'll leave that one there, because if you notice, I have Keep Milford Casino Free on there as well. Yeah. But if you've brought me a bumper sticker, we're going to...
I have.
You have. We've got a bumper sticker here from you. I suppose it can probably go in between There's No Excuse for Domestic Violence and Suzanne Bump. That's a nice spot for it. What do you think?
Perfect.
We may just have to put that on there when I get back out to the parking lot. Brett, if you want to go back to camera 1, I'll show camera 3. I'll show the bumper sticker. There we go. Marty Green. I never get this right. It's not like looking in a mirror.
Right.
So there we go. Green for state representative. It'll go on my green truck, and that'll look quite nice there. So it's a great spot. Thank you so much for bringing that. I guess you brought me a couple of extras too. I'll see if I can hand them out at Drinking Liberally this week, or one of those meetings that I generally go to.
You know, in terms of the domestic violence issue, I don't get the chance to talk about it enough, but early in my professional life and career, I was a social worker. I worked at Grafton Job Corps as a residential counselor for a year. I was a social worker down in St. Vincent's Home in Fall River. And then after that, I spent some time with the Bristol County District Attorney's Office as a victim witness assistant and a child sexual assault investigator. So, I mean, my wife's a licensed clinical social worker. She's an adjustment counselor for the city of Worcester. Not only personally have I had experiences dealing with the issues of child sexual assault and domestic violence on a daily, and people who are impacted by crime.
Sure, on a professional level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I raise this because I think it's important for people that they know that there's other, that their legislator has experiences, life experiences, and not only life, but professional experiences that they bring to the job, because this is a paying job.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's and think about it. I mean, I'm interested in serving, and I'm going to keep my real estate business, because if I get up there and I don't like it, or if and I decide not to run again, I still have to, we have a family.
And sure, and while it's a paying job, it's not that good of a paying job. I mean, it's not tremendous, but yeah.
Well, that's right. And so I'm not interested in being the career politician. I am interested in taking my life experiences, in my both personal and professional, to the position with an open mind, and based on a lot of interaction with the residents. Because the other good thing about keeping my position is my job, my other business, I guess. While if I'm elected, that's going to be the number one priority. By keeping my business, I'm going to stay in touch.
Right.
Keep your
ear to the ground, more or less.
That's right.
Yeah.
The position, the representative position will be priority number one, goal number one. I welcome that, but we'll continue to do real estate and sales and leasing, as well as property management. One of the issues that from a real estate law and regulation that I'm interested in is that I represent a fair amount of landlords, and we've gone too far in terms of some of the protection that we are giving renters who are not paying their rent.
Takes too long to get somebody out of an apartment, et cetera.
Yeah, it does. But also, so you don't pay, for example, you don't pay your rent for 6 months. The court says, okay, you have to leave. You leave. You leave all your furniture in there. The court says you have to put all that furniture in storage and pay for it.
The landlord does.
The landlord does.
Wow. That does seem a little unfair.
I'm not sure whether it's fair or not fair. Is it practical?
Right.
So what we're doing is we are punishing the property owner, not once, twice, three, but multiple times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So there are some landlord laws housing laws that we need to take a look at, and I'm going to be pretty outspoken about that. There's a pretty organized group in Worcester that's concerned about it. And as someone who's actually been in housing court, again, another one of my life experiences that
you're bringing to the table.
Right. And I actually had a good experience, and we had a very good judge. But we also, my client did what he was supposed to do. He and she did what he was supposed to do. So it was painless from that. But I was told, I could tell you, when I got the call, if I wasn't in that housing court, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning, if I wasn't there at 1:30, I was going to be found in contempt.
Wow.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So only because of, this is a funny story. The person who was complaining, who had brought the complaint, was subleasing from the tenant
From
whose
the
lease
original tenant.
whose lease had expired, who was in jail. So basically, they were squatters,
Right,
right?
right. Subletting on an expired lease. Yeah.
But they weren't paying the guy rent because the guy was in jail. So, you know, it was, there we've gone too far in terms of how much, you know, what we're allowing bad tenants to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people say to me, we're not, I'm a personal responsibility guy, right?
Yep.
You take responsibility, I will take responsibility. None of us are perfect. I may make a mistake. We all make mistakes every day, right? As long as we own it and we try to fix it, people are going to, whether it be the judge or the business owner or the resident, if I go up and say to the resident, listen, I'm sorry, I made this mistake on this issue, right?
Right.
People are very forgiving. But we need to be, you need to be practical, and you need to take ownership. That resident, I mean, that tenant that I'm talking about, they're not taking responsibility.
Right.
They're just screwing the landowner,
Mm-hmm.
the property owner.
Right. Yeah.
And we're participating in it.
Sure. Yeah. The state is almost complicit in it by allowing the tenants too many rights, like you're saying.
Yeah. So
They've gone too far. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We started to talk briefly a little bit a few minutes ago about your early career, and
Right.
I did notice on your website some of your educational credits. Let's talk a little bit about that as far as qualifications for the job is concerned.
yeah, I've got a bachelor's from Worcester State in Urban Studies. I was actually just telling, that's how I met my wife. I think at the time the Urban Studies program was one of the best public 4-year state programs in the country. We had some world-class professors that gave us a great experience. They taught us how to think, and they also, one of our classes we had to read a novel a week.
Wow.
Right? It was on themes.
Yeah.
So it was our responsibility to read that novel. And if we went into class and we weren't prepared, then we were held accountable to that. So, I've got a bachelor's degree, and then I thought sort of I was going to navigate towards being a town manager or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got my master's in public administration. So, I'm fortunate that I was able to, make that happen 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of my commitment to lifelong learning. We learn in other ways, though. I just recently, I served, for the second time, I served on a superintendent search committee. It was last fall, Northbridge we had an opening. They were looking for community volunteers. So instead of staying home and watching MASH reruns during the winter, I said, I'll volunteer to do this. And fortunately, I was the only one who wanted to be the community volunteer, so it wasn't a tough, it wasn't very competitive, But tremendous learning experience because my kids are in college, I wasn't in tune to what was going on in public education as I was,
Sure,
right?
as you were when they were in school.
That's
Yeah.
right, because we were involved, When I was on the board of 20 years ago, I sat on a superintendent search committee as well. That it's a real learning experience. That how difficult the position is to be a superintendent, and it's even more so, And there's such tremendous turnover for these superintendents that they've got to stay educated.
Yeah.
And so much more, and they have to build a team.
Sure. Well, continuing education is a priority, isn't it, for teachers and administrators in any school system?
But it is. But so you raise a good point. So we say, all right, we want our teachers to be continue to be have lifelong learning experiences and professional development opportunities. However, one of my issues is I am not going to support any unfunded mandate when it comes to our public schools and when I'm there. For example, doesn't sound like much, but it's one. So now our teachers, are already quarried, but now we're saying to them, we want them to, I lost a term. Not,
they're already Corey checked.
they're already Corey checked. So they've got to get something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's $40 a piece. It's got to come out of their pocket.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's just another example where we're putting a burden on our teachers. We're passing regulations every day. Now, I don't mind talking about this. Some people don't want to talk about it. The gun bill that just passed. Okay. I'm the only candidate in this race that believes that our police chief should continue to be the licensing authority as to who gets a permit.
Yeah.
I'm a Second Amendment guy. I like going pistol shooting with my buddies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the Second Amendment. This is about keeping who knows the people in the city or town better than our police chiefs.
Right.
Than some bureaucrat in Boston.
Right.
Okay. This is an issue that Democrats, Independents, and Republicans mostly agree on. Most agree on, and I'm hearing it on a daily basis. But part of this gun bill, there's some unfunded mandates in there that I would not personally have supported. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's opt-outs in there. So we shouldn't be saying to every school district, you have to have some type of resource officer or whatever, or police presence in the schools. That should be up to the local school district in terms of what they feel is best on how to keep their kids safe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Northbrook, for example, they spent a ton of money after Newtown, working with a fire chief, police chief, in implementing a school safety plan.
Right.
We need to trust our school districts, So that's I feel strongly about that. That we cannot be passing any more unfunded mandates.
Yeah, unfunded mandates have come up several times lately on my show.
Mm-hmm.
I had Suzanne Bump on, our state auditor,
Yeah.
And I had no idea that pretty much what the auditor's office really does.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that she does is she takes a look at unfunded mandates. When communities bring an unfunded mandate to her attention, she'll look at it and determine whether or not the legislature really should allocate funds to help those communities meet that obligation.
That's good to know.
Which, I had no idea that she was involved in that. And
So you can have another advocate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You have another advocate, another avenue to go as a constitutional officer,
Right.
To make sure that things are done correctly as far as our communities are concerned.
Right.
And really at the end of the day, it's our communities that really count. We are who make up the Commonwealth.
Well, that's right. We need to make sure that we're keeping local decision making, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When we can, and when we also need to make sure that when we're imposing regulations that we're funding them. That we're supporting our local communities as much as we can, and we need to do a better job at that. This is an opportunity in our district, North Grafton Upton, to bring a fresh face and someone with experience, working with state, local, and federal officials and local business people, and advocating for projects that are going to create employment opportunities, create business opportunities, and that are going to create new growth in our district.
Right.
So,
sounds like I have a new perspective on things, and I think that's probably long overdue in a district that's been represented by the same person for 20 years.
Yes.
It'd be nice to see some fresh perspective in there.
well, we talk about people talk about the 20 years, and I talk about the fact that I'm not going to be a career politician. I personally believe in term limits.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of different reasons. I know. You'll go speak to some incumbents, they'll say, the vote is out, your term limit. Well, that's true theoretically.
Theoretically, yes.
But there are a lot of really talented people in this district, in this state, in this country that don't get an opportunity to serve because
incumbents, the power of incumbency.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it that Yogi Berra said about theory and practice? In theory, there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is.
That's right.
So,
I don't see this is not a career for me. I'm going to be 51 next month. So.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
By the time this is on the air, your birthday may be in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Well. So it's. people, this term limit question, I thought I would like to have an opportunity to vote on it and speak on it. I mean, this would be my ideal term limit. Our presidency would be 6 years. Our U.S. Senate would be two 6-year terms. Congress would be 10 or 12 years. And governor would be 1 6-year. All our constitutional officers in the state would be 1 6-year term.
Okay.
Take away this re-election piece,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
That bogs us down and creates so much of the discourse. And
Well, that's the thing, I think the saying goes, a politician cares about his next election, while a statesman cares about the next generation.
Right.
So by implementing term limits, it's more or less forcing people to be statesmen rather than politicians.
Well, we go to serve,
right.
And that's not to say that they're not, that our current officials are not statesmen, and they don't care, and they do. But I just think it would create an opportunity for a new generation.
Sure.
And create regular turnover, and those people who have all that tremendous experience, after they leave, could go and do other things that would be fantastic. Whether it be whatever
could
it may
be
be
of great service to the community at large. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. One of the things that intrigued me on your website, we touched on it a little bit before, but lifelong learning and non-traditional students. What do you mean by that, and what do you see as some way that you can help that?
Well, I'm going to go back to my first superintendent search committee. We had his name was Henry O'Donnell, who Northbridge ended up hiring a long-term superintendent at Northbridge, and his priority issue. Henry was a tremendous leader, but he talked about the need for early childhood education. Taught me a lot about it. Okay. Now I was a multi-year student in college. Okay. And a non-traditional in some sense because I moved out of my house and I was working. I was working full time and going to school and not living at home. Mm-hmm. Yep. After my sophomore year or junior year, I guess I moved. So I was a multi-year student, non-traditional in that sense. When I was getting my master's, I was same thing. I was working from home. I was working, and I was going to school at night. Today, it's no different, and that we need to be committed to that early childhood education, all the way through post-secondary, and be creative about how we offer it. I was talking. My wife is an adjunct professor at Worcester State College and at Boston College in the MSW program. So we talk, and in fact, I've got some really much smarter people around me when it comes to education, I can tell you. There's my wife and my sister-in-law. My wife's sister is a superintendent in Tantascwa, okay? So I feel really good about people I can talk to about, and I'm still friends with some of my college professors I had at Worcester State. Sure. That I can talk to them about higher ed. And K through 12, right? My wife works in a school. We've had meetings with our superintendents, the 3 superintendents, and actually the 4. This district is fortunate because we have 4 high schools. Actually, we have 5 when I think about it because of we have the Whitensburg Christian School, we have Northbridge High School, we have Grafton High School, and we have Nipmunk, and we have Blackstone Valley Vocational Technical High School. Mm-hmm. So, not every kid leaves high school and goes to college. Some of them go into service. Some don't. Some don't go. Some stay home. I've got a nephew who he didn't go to college, and he's worked his tail off for the last number of years with one goal in mind, to getting one particular, to creating this employment opportunity, and it just came to happen for him. So not everybody is going to go to college. But there are going to be, there are going to be students, or there's going to be people that are going to go back at 25, at 35, at 45, at 55. And we need to make sure that we have those opportunities available. And it's got to be affordable.
Absolutely. So I'm one of those. I've only got my associate's degree, and I'm kind of weighing my options right now and seeing if I should go back and get my bachelor's, just because
Yeah.
you know, it's something that I feel I should do. It's
Right.
something I feel I should finish. I never did. You know, I got my associates, and I took a few courses. You know, a couple of history courses and a couple of economics courses, and tried to work towards my bachelor's. But then just kind of fell off the wagon of doing the night
Yeah.
school thing. And
Yeah.
it's something that you know, I feel it's unfinished in my life, and it's something that I should go and pursue and finish up. And certainly, I'm 56 years old.
Yeah.
So, like you say, you know,
So
we
it's
have
not-
people at
no.
all ages. Yeah.
No, because here's the other part of it, is that we're not retiring at 62.
Right. Right. Nobody's retiring
Right.
young anymore.
So you
Yeah.
so you need to make yourself competitive.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, I mean that's the nature. You need to be, you need to look out for number one, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, those are good experiences, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I have life experience that I think I can bring a lot to the table, and
Well,
certainly I can probably test out of a lot of stuff.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's it. So yeah.
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 You know,
I
and
probably couldn't.
well, being that you already have your master's, I don't know that there's much more to test out of. Are you going to go for your PhD?
No, too much work.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Let's talk a little bit about, let's go back to the cost of doing business. That was another bullet on your website that you talked about. You'd like to see maybe some reduction in the cost of doing business, maybe make Massachusetts a little more business friendly.
Unemployment insurance, right? We just passed it. We made some changes. They don't go far enough. For example, you're an employer. You're a small. I've got. This was the idea of one of my clients. You know, he's a small. He's not really a manufacturer. He's an assembly. He's a service guy. But he provides. He's got 20 employees. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he hires somebody. He lays some. Let me back up. He lays somebody off. Okay, because instead of firing them, right? He does. He feels that he wants to do that. You know, he could fire them, but then he's going to have a battle. So he lays them off so they're eligible for unemployment insurance. Okay.
Yep.
While he's paying for that unemployment insurance for that person, he hires somebody who was collecting unemployment.
So he's basically balanced the books.
Shouldn't he get credited for that?
Sure.
He doesn't.
Okay.
He or she doesn't, right?
Right.
Again, it seems very simple to you and I sitting here talking about it, but why aren't we just doing it? That is what I don't understand, you know. So that's another example where I'm going to focus on is, you know, how do we deal with unemployment insurance? One other issue I want to before we we can come back to this, but I do want to talk about education.
Sure.
One of the antiquated funding formulas that is having a dramatic impact on school systems and towns is how we pay for special education. Okay, it's an old formula. It doesn't work because it puts the burden on the local school district. But what it also does unfairly, it has us. It puts the special education kids in a situation where all other kids the formula doesn't make any sense because it's costing so much. Okay, and so there can be a stigma associated with it that we need to deal with. I think I can speak to this in a way that very few people can. I have a special needs brother who was in special education. Mm-hmm. He was fortunate. He's fortunate now. He lives on his own. Beaumont Nursing Home has employed him since he was in high school. So,
okay.
The Salmon family has been wonderful to him.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to change how we fund special education. So I'm committed to working with us, school superintendents, school committees, and Department of Education, and we need to fix it, because when 1/3 your education budget is special ed.
That's a lot. Yeah. So would you do that through Chapter 70 funding? How would you reform it?
Well, it's special ed is outside of Chapter 70.
Oh, okay.
It's a very, very complicated formula, and my sister-in-law, the superintendent, has promised me that she's going to educate me on it.
She's going to explain it to you someday.
We've had some conversations about it.
Uh-huh.
And you know, and I've talked to some superintendents about it. It's an issue, but it needs to be fixed. You know, because you shouldn't have 20% of your students
taking up 33% of your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just doesn't, you're right, it doesn't make sense. And
right, you know, so so I'm committed to working on that, you know.
okay. So that's kind of education. Higher ed we talked about with, you know, you've got your experience now with a couple of kids in college. What do you see for public schools, for public higher ed?
I would love to see one of them come up with a 3-year degree program.
Sure, that's great. Why not?
Right? You know, they're going to say to you, the kids can do it anyways, right?
Right.
Some of my daughter's friends did it in 3.5 years, right? Great, okay? And but really adopt and implement a 3-year BA, you know, that really makes some sense for students. So it's there. So our higher education system is leading the way on this, you know. But here's the problem, right? They're going to go, it's going to affect our funding. So they build their budget on 4 years.
Sure.
Well, you don't have to. Build it on 3 years, but just allow students to take a couple more classes. You know, there's a way of doing it.
Sure.
If we can educate kids, we can figure out a way to educate them better and more effectively, right?
Right.
So that is one thought that I have. Quite honestly, I think someone on the private school side is probably going to do it sooner than on the public side, only because they're more competitive.
Right.
But I want to see one of our public schools, public colleges adopt such.
Well, like you say, I mean, I can agree that certainly it can be done right now if somebody really puts their nose to the grindstone and does it. When I earned my associate's degree, I covered 30 credit hours in my final semester, which that was huge. I mean, you know, 6 4-credit classes plus 2 3-credit classes. That was a big course load, but it can be done.
It can be done. The other thing is, and you know, people in higher ed don't want to hear it, but I got to tell you, I'm not sure why we can't extend out the academic year, make it a little longer. You know, I'm not complaining about my kids. My son got great education. My daughter's going to be a teacher. You know, Bridgewater did a really, really good job. We're really happy with it. But I think we should, you know, we can extend the school year out. Colleges are offering summer and winter classes anyway, so why not, you know,
Sure.
Let's make that part of the 3-year program.
It'll
be easier, you know, we won't be creating as much debt for our students, which will create more of an economic incentive, an opportunity for these kids coming out of college, you know. So there's a lot of upside to it.
Right. Sounds like a win-win, and that's always a desirable outcome.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't believe it, but we've actually only got about 10 minutes left. So before we end the show with you know, kind of an overview of why people should vote for Marty Green, let's talk again about how anyone can contact your campaign, to donate, to volunteer, to help out your campaign, or just to find out more about you.
You know, martygreen.org, and again, my number is 508-320-7786. You know, I'm an open book, and the way I'm running this election, campaign is just that. You know, we've got another fundraiser planned next week. We've got a major event planned September 13th. Right after the primary, my friends. My good buddies have a band. They play all cover songs, so they're gonna play Saturday night, September 13th, at the Grafton Inn. Sort of, you know, a sprint to the finish, you know.
Yep.
Because I haven't had a primary, so get people fired up. This campaign has been very humbling and very, in many ways. I've got people who've never donated before to any campaign, who are making donations. People who, you know, I had a guy come up to me, and I went up to him. I said, because you got to ask for every vote. I said, you know, I got to ask for your vote. And he looked at me. He said, you don't? No, you don't. I said, you don't have to ask for anything from me. I'm sort of taken back, so you don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, Marty, you helped me in something 20 years ago.
No kidding.
And I've forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And so it's really that, so you go through life doing the right, my parents taught my 7 brothers and sisters and I, to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And to, and my wife and I think we've done a fine job of doing, my wife has done most of it with my kids.
Instill those values in your
Yeah,
kids.
so this campaign over the next, when we started, my wife said it's like a 9-month interview, and so we're halfway through, right?
Yep.
Here we are in the middle of July. This is what I'm hearing, is that from people as we go door to door, as I talk, that the Democrats, Independents, and Republicans are saying, they can identify with me. Life experiences, personal experiences. We don't agree 100% of the time. Nobody does.
Right.
Right? But they can identify with my life, that they have similar life experiences and challenges, that I'm going to bring that to it. So as that, I've got 3 selectmen already in Northbridge supporting me. I have 3 in Grafton. I've got Republicans saying they don't want to win the battle but lose the war, meaning they send a freshman Republican up there who's not going to be able to deliver for the district. Okay? We all can do constituent services.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
That's what we're going there for.
But it's bringing home the bacon that's important.
It's about getting a piece of that pie, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to lose. So they're saying, these Republicans are saying to me and to my opponents, the reason why they're supporting me is this is about winning the war. And Marty, I can do that. Most of and people know this, a lot of my family, are Republicans. This is a great story about when I was deciding to run. I had to go talk to my clients because I can't lose my business.
Sure.
And one of these 2 brothers who I've known for years, I've represented them for years. I walk in and they always have Rush Limbaugh on the radio, and I never talk politics with my clients because it's not. I save it for the poker table.
It's the old politics and religion thing. You just don't talk about those things, right?
So we talk about some religion, and I do want to talk about that in a second. But I said, I went to them and I said, guys, I'm thinking about running, and you mattered to me. Most of my clients become my friends.
Yep.
And so what you think matters to me. And so one of them looked at me and he said, Marty, I'm a Rush Limbaugh Republican. I held my breath. He said, but I'm with you 100%. Get me a sign, get me a bumper sticker.
Great. Yep.
So, because on the state representative election is different, and that is that it is, it's local. On the national level and on the governor's level, there's going to be a level where people are going to vote their party. In this election, there's 16,000 independents in this district. Right. Right.
Right.
They're going to vote for the person that they can identify with, whether it be the other experience that a lot of us our age face is that both my parents are gone, and my dad was in a nursing home when he passed. So as a son, I've been through that process with people. So just the other day, I was helping a friend of mine who was struggling with what he needed, friend and a client. I connected with a couple of nursing homes. I have, from my long 20 years of business experience, I've got all
You've got connections with just about everybody. Right?
That's right.
Yep.
So and I can help people in that way. And that's is that a constituent service? No, that's just doing the right thing.
Sure.
Yep.
You talk about being from a large family. I'm from a family of 7 myself,
Yeah.
so I understand what what the pressures can be when you have multiple brothers and sisters, etc. I was born very late in the family tree. I don't know where you are in yours. I was number 6 out of 7.
Well, I'm 7th out of 8. There's 8 of us in 9 years, and a fair amount. My mother was from London, and my dad was from Charlestown. Fair number of Irish twins in there.
Yep.
And I mentioned earlier, I think religion. I'm proud of my Catholic faith. I consider myself a social justice Catholic. I love my new Pope. And,
oh yeah, Pope Francis is doing some great work out there. I love his pronouncements and stuff. The stuff that he's been doing.
That is important to me. So, and it's the other part of it that's important to me because it's taught me some of the other work and it's not even work, the volunteer stuff that I do that I've never, I haven't. You don't like to talk about, but I guess I'm told I need to, and that is that, my family has always been involved in the community, and whether we were members of Rotary or being active in our church or on the PTA or I talked about our Education Foundation, but in Northbridge alone, we have 2, what I call them soup kitchens. The Presbyterian Church started one 10 plus years ago. Every Wednesday night, they have a free meal. A different group purchases, prepares, cooks, and serves a meal every single Wednesday at the Presbyterian Church. As a result of that, took many years, but my church, St. Pat's in Whitensville, just started a Saturday morning breakfast that's open to the community free. And my wife and I and my friends and family have been involved in both of those efforts on a regular basis. And we do it because it's the right thing to do, but it's all, and it's not. Here's the other part of it, and I want people to hear this, and that this isn't something we joined because because I'm running for office.
Right, you see it as a political opportunity? No, this is something you're doing to give back.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is what serving our brothers and sisters is about, and we do it in other ways, but I guess this is why that's a democratic value. But it's also a human value that we all share, is that we need to have a safety net, okay? And I bring that understanding because not only because I see it and we do it, but I also it's important to, and I said we bring our kids, now my kids do it on their own, but let me just say this, folks. Both Presbyterian Church and St. Pat's are in need of volunteers. We need them. So if you're looking to volunteer, please contact the 2 churches and offer your assistance, because the week that we just did it a couple of weeks ago at St. Pat's, we served 120 meals on a Saturday morning. And then the last time my group did it at Presbyterian, which is about 6 weeks ago, we served 125 there and 50 take-home meals.
Wow.
175 chicken parmesan.
Wow.
That's our specialty.
Okay.
So.
Well, on that note, Marty, I think we're out of time.
Great.
Believe it or not, we've gone through an hour here in the studio.
Perfect.
You've been watching All Politics is Local. Tonight's guest was Marty Green, candidate for the Worcester 9th District State Rep seat, and he'll be running in the general election in November. No primary opponent in the September primary, but certainly in the November election, we'll want to get out the vote for Marty Green. You've been watching All Politics is Local, a production of the Greater Blackstone Valley Democrats. For more information about the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems, feel free to visit our website at www.gbvdems.org. Thanks for tuning in. Good night, everybody.